I guess when you get your doors blown off by 50 points, right? You get beat down to your socks. You know, one toe in the sock is sticking out. That's how, like, you got your shirt taken from you, right? Your kids is watching. Somebody, you just get beat down. Your shirt pulled over your head. Get stomped out. This is how you sound right after, right? 50 point beat down, 53 to be exact. I was watching a game. I started watching late, and I had forgot it had came on. I started watching late. It was like 65-12 at half. Like it was 65-12. I always, love UConn, right? Born, raised, and all my ties, to UConn. Love UConn, right? Love Gino, right? They're not 65-12 at half. They're not 53 points better than this Syracuse team, right? They're not. This Syracuse team they were not prepared. I will say that. This team was not prepared, man. They weren't prepared to play. Sitting there watching the game, right? They're stagnant on offense. They're not moving. I understand the pressure of UConn, but you gotta have some movement. X's and O's wasn't there. She had a terrible job, man. She did a terrible job getting those ladies ready. And when you lose by 50, this is what you have to say. You just started talking like this. Let's go ahead and listen. Let's listen. What you got to say?
For us to do what we've done, to continuously have to come to UConn, and every single school that I go to, from Buffalo to is unfair to the young people. I don't know what it is. Somebody said, is there something?
Here's the thing about that, right? Here's the thing. She took that job, right? You took the job going to Buffalo. Buffalo and Storrs, Connecticut is not that far, right? It's not that far, right? Compared to other distances, it's not that far, right? After Buffalo, what does she do? She goes to Syracuse, right? So you go to Syracuse, Storrs, Connecticut, not that far. Mansfield, Connecticut, not that far. You understood how the women's college basketball, or at least I would like to think she understands, right? How women's college basketball, when it comes to the tournament, is. Yo, when you watch some of these games during the day, not some of these big games, we're not talking about like, when you watch the 1 and 2 seeds play in the first couple rounds, right? Yo, there's barely people at the game. There's barely people at the game, right? They try to keep them in the same area if they could. Now you're going to see crazy things like a West Coast team going to, North Carolina or what's one of the regions like in Washington State, like, Spokane, like that's where, like, hey, if you make it to the Elite Eight, you're an East Coast team, down south team, you're going to Spokane, Washington. If you make it to the Elite Eight, right? Sure, you're gonna have to go through the top teams and play on their home courts or whatever. But that's mainly because they want to fill those arenas, right? That's how the women's game is. She should know this as a coach, right? Being around the women's game, being a player, she should know this. You took the job at Buffalo. I understand her taking the job at Syracuse, having played for Syracuse, right? I understand that, but that's not an excuse. No one has it out for Buffalo. No one has it out for Syracuse. You just happen to be in the area, where this UConn team is. If you were in the South, you would be currently trying to go through South Carolina. And currently constructed, this Syracuse team can't mess with this South Carolina team or any of those previous Syracuse and South Carolina teams, right? If you were in the West Coast, UCLA, any of those teams, even your conference, I'm gonna bring it up. Let's get back to her. Let's
Something
keep going on. Let's see
that
what she has
they
to say.
might have against me, if that's the case, and we need to communicate about that. But
Again, no one has anything. It has nothing. Has nothing. No one has it out for this woman, right? It has nothing to do with you. No one's thinking about you. No one cares. No one's like, this has nothing to do with you. Nothing.
for us to be what we've done in our body of work, to have to come and play that best team in the country. I mean, Gino has.
Now, she just said for them to have to go and play the best team in the country. I want to bring this up right here. Let's bring this up. Let's talk about it, right? She's talking about going to play UConn, the best team, right? Now this is Syracuse. They're a ninth seed in ninth. They're ACC team. They're ninth seed in this year's tournament, right? This is the ACC. This is the conference they're in. Now you look at this. You see where Syracuse is. Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, NC State, North Carolina, Louisville, Duke. Those are all the teams that had a better record, overall record, than Syracuse, right? See them tied with Virginia and Notre Dame for the same conference record, right? Let me go ahead and bring this up here. This right here are all the teams that Syracuse lost to this year. You lost to Michigan. Michigan gave UConn their hardest game of the season, right? Double digit. You lost to Duke. That's in your conference. Double digit. You lost to Virginia Tech. Double digit. That's in your conference. North Carolina, tough game, 6-point game, overtime. You lost to them, right? Louisville, double digit. North Carolina State, double digit. Notre Dame, double digit. Louisville, ACC tournament. This wasn't a final or second round. Week 1 at ACC tournament, Syracuse gets bounced by Louisville by 26. Again, all of these teams except for Michigan were in their conference. They lost to every single team up here in their conference. Then you get smoked by UConn. Now, as we see that every single team above Syracuse here beat Syracuse this year, except for, I believe, was that North Carolina game that was only a 6-point. Every team above them beat them by double digits except for North Carolina. Not one team here in the ACC is a 1 or 2 seed when it comes down to the tournament. There's not one team here that is a number 1 or number 2. Duke is a number 3 seed. Louisville is a 3 seed. Who was number 4? UNC. UNC was in is it Albany? Then a Fort Worth, right? 4 seed. So you couldn't beat any of the teams that were above you in your own conference. Syracuse couldn't beat any of the teams in their own conference. And none of the teams in their own conference, we're not talking about like, well, Duke or Louisville, they're probably one of the 2 best teams. They're not, right? In the grand scheme of college basketball, sure. But when you're looking at a true contending, none of those teams were a 1 or 2 seed. And you couldn't compete with those teams. So what do you think was going to happen when you have a team where that's the actual number 1 seed, right? Defending champs, right? I think they won last year through the tournament by 31 points or something like that. Syracuse, I think Syracuse was a 12-win team last year. So you couldn't beat anybody here. You only had 1 close loss against an ACC team. Everybody else you played, you lost. So it has nothing to do with the number 1 seed or anything like that. Damn, you can't even beat the teams that's in the best teams in your own conference. And the teams that's in your own conference aren't the best teams in the country. Right? UCLA, Texas, UConn, LSU, South Carolina. Who was a 2 seed here? Iowa was a 2 seed. They got bounced by Virginia and Vandy. Like Notre Dame's a number 6 seed. Notre Dame got one of the best players in the country. They're number 6 seed. So she's just rambling, but let's hear what she has to say.
This thing going, and I love what he's done, but I thought deserved a little more respect after being in his business for 37 years. And
what does being in a business for 37 years has to do with absolute anything? Right? No one cared when UConn went through their little lull and they couldn't get back to winning. No one cared, right? No one cared, rightfully so. No one cared. UConn, Gino was not given a 5-star program. He had to build it up to get to becoming a 5-star program. He had to beat Pat Summitt in Tennessee, who was the gold standard for women's college basketball at the time. It's one of the reasons why I said in one of my previous videos why I hate Carol Lawson so much is because of some old beef that I had with her as a kid watching those Tennessee teams and the Pat Summitt Tennessee teams. I hated Tennessee. You got to understand, I truly hated Tennessee because that was who UConn had to get through to become who they were, right? Or I should say who they are now, was you had to get through Tennessee. If you want to go back to your school, like this woman, she wanted to go back to her school, right? Change things, you're going to have to go through UConn. You guys just happen to be in the same area. That's how it's worked out, man.
to have to come and be in this particular bracket every freaking year is unacceptable. It's wrong. It's somebody. And if you're on the committee and you've been around for more than a year or 2 or 5 to 10 or 15 years, you understand what that looks like. I've been on those committees to see how it's done, how you can put people on different lines, put us on a 10 line, whatever. But for us to continue to come to Connecticut year after year after year is, to me, it's a personal attack.
Again, right? I just want to bring this up. This Syracuse team. If I could bring it up briefly. So their second year, so they were a second round exit here. They played UConn. So, okay, so they were a second exit for the 2023-24 season, right? You were a 6th seed. They were a 6th seed, right? UConn weren't the best team. UConn was a number 3 seed. USC was the number 1 seed in that area, in that region. Ohio State was a number 2. UConn was a number 3 seed. UConn didn't even lose to the eventual winners. You were a 6th seed Syracuse. You lost by 8. You played them tough. You played them good. You lost to them. Hey, you weren't better that day. You had a tough game. Great game, right? It is what it is. But you only lost by 8 points. To again, a number 3 seed. UConn wasn't the best, the better team. They were better than Syracuse that year, but they weren't the best team in the country. 2025, Syracuse were nowhere to be found because they weren't in the tournament that year because they were 12-18. Right? That's when she took over in 2022. Right? Got them from 11-18. They got to 20 wins, 24 wins. They dipped. Then they went back up to 24 wins this previous season. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. When she was in Buffalo, I believe that was 2018. They played UConn. Let me go over here. 2018 Albany region should be over here. Right? So they beat South Florida. Right? Pretty good wins. They beat Florida State. That was Florida State team was good. And then you ran into South Carolina. You couldn't beat South Carolina. Right? UConn was the number 1 seed. You couldn't beat the number 2 seed. Let's go 2019. Where was Buffalo at in 2019? Buffalo. Okay, so Buffalo in the Albany region. Buffalo beat Rutgers, right? Then you go into UConn again. Again, you didn't play the number one team. You played a number two team. Louisville was the number one team. UConn didn't win that year, right? So these are just excuses, man. Right? You had two, 8-point loss and a 12-point loss to UConn. Your, your teams played UConn well. None of those, if I'm remembering correctly, none of those games where UConn were a number one seed. And when UConn was a number one seed, you couldn't beat the other team in South Carolina. And then when you go to this year, your teams get smoked by 50. You can't beat the other teams in the ACC, and none of the teams in the ACC are a 1 and 2 seed. It has nothing to do with trying to put you up against UConn or somebody has it out for you. Your teams is just not that good, right? And then when you had chances to beat UConn, 8-point loss, 12-point loss, you didn't win them. It's not like this team is getting smoked by 50 points every time they play UConn. Let's hear what else she has to say.
What we performed today, but I think what you're going to notice that everybody that come through Gino and UConn is going to get the raft of what they can bring. I just know this team right here had a strong chance of getting beyond this particular level, and
I'm just gonna stop it there. When she says team getting beyond this particular, what again? You couldn't win your own conference. Like, let's start there. Let's have a top 5 team, top 8 team. When the opportunities present themselves to actually beat UConn in an 8-point game, 12-point, let's win them. As of right now, Gino's still coaching. Sarah Strong's still there, right? She's gonna be there for another 2 years. KK Arnold, like this, they're still going to be an issue. It's not going away. You're still going to be the coach of Syracuse. Gino's not retiring. As we know, there's still going to be a problem. This is a bad look, man. You know, if you're going to play for a coach like this, do you still want to go play for a coach like this? Right? Get recruited by Syracuse. Yeah, I want to go there. You commit. Yo, after you hit this, you still want to go there? It's a bad look, man. Get in the comment section. Let me know. Until the next one, I get with you.